The O.J. Simpson Murder Trial, the case that shook America. Dark Files. Welcome to Dark Files, where we uncover the most chilling and infamous stories of crime and mystery. In today's episode, we're diving into one of the most highly publicized and controversial cases in American history, the O.J. Simpson Murder Trial. In the 1990s, O.J. Simpson was not just a famous former football star, he was a household name. But his life would change forever on the night of June 12, 1994, when his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman were found brutally murdered outside Nicole's Los Angeles home. What followed was a trial that captivated the world, one filled with shocking twists, media frenzy, and a verdict that would leave millions in shock. Was O.J. Simpson guilty of the brutal murders, or did the legal system fail to deliver justice? Today, we'll break down the case step by step, uncover the shocking details, and explore the aftermath of one of the most polarizing events in criminal history. Stay tuned as we walk you through the O.J. Simpson murder trial. The crime, June 12, 1994. It all began on the night of June 12, 1994. The bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson, O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, and Ron Goldman, a waiter who had come to deliver glasses to Nicole, were found outside her Brentwood home in Los Angeles. Nicole's body was discovered lying in a pool of blood near the entrance of her townhouse. She had been viciously stabbed multiple times. Ron Goldman was found nearby, also stabbed to death. The crime scene was horrific, with both victims showing signs of extreme violence. The brutality of the murders stunned everyone. How could something so violent happen in a peaceful, affluent neighborhood like Brentwood? But the question on everyone's mind was, who did this? The police investigation immediately focused on O.J. Simpson, not just because he was Nicole's ex-husband, but because of circumstantial evidence that seemed to point in his direction. The investigation and arrest of O.J. Simpson. As the investigation unfolded, evidence began to mount against Simpson. The LAPD found blood traces outside Nicole's home that matched O.J.'s blood type. The detectives also discovered a bloody glove near Simpson's property, which would later be a key piece of evidence. But it wasn't just physical evidence that led to suspicion, it was O.J. Simpson's behavior. Initially, Simpson didn't cooperate with the police. He fled the scene in a white Ford Bronco, igniting one of the most famous car chases in American history. The slow-speed chase was broadcasted live across television networks, with millions of people glued to their screens, watching Simpson evade capture. The chase only deepened the suspicion surrounding O.J., and the police had no choice but to arrest him. The trial begins, a media circus. What followed was nothing short of a media spectacle. The trial of O.J. Simpson became a national obsession. The courtroom was packed with celebrities, journalists, and even onlookers hoping to catch a glimpse of the former football star. The media frenzy was unparalleled, and the case became a television event. Networks interrupted regular programming to provide live coverage, and the country was captivated by the drama unfolding in the courtroom. O.J. Simpson's defense team, famously known as the Dream Team, included some of the best legal minds in the country. The most famous of them all was Johnny Cochran, a skilled defense attorney who would go on to make one of the most memorable lines in the history of criminal law: "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." Cochran's argument revolved around the idea that the LAPD was racially biased, suggesting that they had planted evidence to frame Simpson. His team argued that the evidence linking O.J. to the crime scene, like the infamous bloody glove, was planted. The defense claimed that Simpson was the victim of a racist conspiracy orchestrated by the LAPD. The trial would go on for 8 months, with thousands of hours of testimony, expert witnesses, and dramatic moments that captured the public's attention. The key evidence and the controversial moments. There were many key moments during the trial, and the evidence presented by both sides would ultimately determine O.J. Simpson's fate. One of the most pivotal pieces of evidence was the bloody glove. At the time, Simpson was asked to try on the glove found at the crime scene in front of the jury. The glove appeared to be too small for him, and Johnny Cochran famously declared, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit." This moment played a significant role in casting doubt on the prosecution's case. But it wasn't just the glove. There was the DNA evidence, which the prosecution argued clearly linked Simpson to the crime. However, There were issues with how the evidence was handled and whether it had been tampered with. Another controversy arose from the testimony of Mark Foreman, a LAPD detective whose racist remarks were exposed during the trial. Foreman's credibility was called into question, and the defense used this to argue that Simpson had been framed by a corrupt police force. The verdict, a nation divided. After months of testimony, arguments, and media coverage, the jury finally went into deliberation. The tension was unbearable. Millions of Americans were waiting for a verdict that would change history. On October 3, 1995, the verdict came in. O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The nation was divided. Some were thrilled, believing that Simpson had been wrongfully accused, while others were outraged, certain that Simpson was the killer. Protests erupted, with some celebrating the verdict and others decrying it as a miscarriage of justice. But the question remained, was O.J. Simpson truly innocent? Or was he a guilty man who managed to escape justice? The aftermath, civil trial and later events. Another controversy arose from the testimony of Mark Foreman, a LAPD detective whose racist remarks were exposed during the trial. Foreman's credibility was called into question, and the defense used this to argue that Simpson had been framed by a corrupt police force. The verdict, a nation divided. After months of testimony, arguments, and media coverage, the jury finally went into deliberation. The tension was unbearable. Millions of Americans were waiting for a verdict that would change history. On October 3, 1995, the verdict came in. O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The nation was divided. Some were thrilled, believing that Simpson had been wrongfully accused, while others were outraged, certain that Simpson was the killer. Protests erupted, with some celebrating the verdict and others decrying it as a miscarriage of justice. But the question remained, was O.J. Simpson truly innocent? Or was he a guilty man who managed to escape justice? The aftermath, civil trial and later events. Although O.J. Simpson was acquitted in the criminal trial, his troubles were far from over. In 1997, the families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman brought a civil lawsuit against him. In the civil trial, Simpson was found liable for their deaths and was ordered to pay millions of dollars in damages. Simpson's life would continue to spiral downward. In 2007, he was arrested and convicted for armed robbery in a separate case, and he spent 9 years in prison. But despite the conviction in the robbery case, questions about his involvement in the murders of Nicole and Ron still haunt his legacy. The trial left a deep scar on American society. It raised issues of race, celebrity, the legal system, and the power of the media. It exposed the flaws in both the criminal justice system and the public's perception of it. The O.J. Simpson case remains one of the most iconic and controversial moments in modern history. The O.J. Simpson murder trial will forever be remembered as a pivotal moment in the history of American criminal justice. No one can say for certain whether O.J. Simpson was guilty or innocent, but the case left us with more questions than answers. Was it a case of justice being served? Or did the system fail? Was O.J. Simpson a man wrongfully accused? Or did a celebrity get away with murder? The truth may never be known, but the story of the O.J. Simpson trial will continue to fascinate and divide people for generations to come. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of the most controversial criminal cases in history. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more dark and thrilling stories from the world of crime. And don't forget to check out our other videos on Dark Files.